Should we start the shot clock when Kathy gets up? Good? All right, I will call the work session to order. First item on the agenda is a presentation of Northland Workforce Development by the illustrious Mayor Kathy Rose and company.
Thank you. Good evening. I am so excited to be here tonight in your beautiful town. I tell you what, I love driving through here and seeing all the different things that you guys are doing. It's very exciting. And I feel that way about all of our Northland communities. We have got it going on in Platte and Clay County in the Northland, and we should be so proud of it. And I'm the believer, I'm the person standing here before you that no matter what happens in the Northland, collaterally we all win. And we need to make sure that we all embrace that as we continue to develop the Northland. I'm here tonight, Kathy Rose. I'm the mayor for the city of Riverside, and I am here tonight to talk about the Northland Workforce Development Center. This has become a passion project of mine, and you'll say, why do you care about a workforce development center? Well, I'll tell you what, I really truly feel that the skill trades are important. We have got to instill these qualities, this training into the future generation so that we can be able to have this workforce right here in the Northland. So that's what this is all about. So just a real brief description, the Governor Parson has given us $30 million, and he is amending that. It's sitting on his desk to amend to $37 million because the project costs have gone up. But $37 million will be half of the costs for the new Workforce Development Center that Jeff Green will be here to tell you about. And also, Michelle Cradfield is with us tonight and her son, Aaron, and I'm excited for them to speak to you as well. Again, this is a capital campaign effort, and every dollar counts. We have 5 buckets of money that we are trying to fill and go after. And the presentation to you is not only for your consideration as a community, but if you have businesses that would be interested in hearing our story, or if you have other people that would want to donate, then this is their opportunity to invest in the future. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff so that we can start the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we get them.
Good evening, everyone. It is evening, right? I guess it's kind of late afternoon, early evening. Thank you. All right. Well, first of all, I'm Jeff Green. I'm the director at Northland Career Center. Many of you probably have heard of Northland Career Center, but just in case you haven't, we are a shared time technical school in the Platte County School District, but we serve all of the 16 different homeschool, private school, public schools in the Northland. So there are 16 different high schools that send students to us. They come to us for a half a day. And they are anything from welding to nursing and everything in between. They're there to earn credentials to be ready for whatever's next in their after high school. We shoot for an enrollment, an enlistment, or an employment, or versions of that when they leave us. So that's a little bit about who we are in a quick nutshell. That's Northland Career Center. So you're going to see NCC in this presentation a few times, but we're also going to, there's another bunch of acronyms. Education, if you didn't know, uses acronyms like it's candy. So, but the Northland Workforce Development Center is what we're kind of talking about tonight, which is a new state-of-the-art center that is going to house those programs that we are used to calling Northland Career Center. So Northland Career Center exists inside of what we're going to talk about tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about the why. I'm gonna make sure this is working. So we're gonna talk a little bit about why. Why are we passionate about this project? And Kathy's already elaborated on this a little bit, but you see a whole bunch of students in that picture. Those are students, and I'm gonna introduce another one here in just a minute here, but those are students that have gone through our program and are now at the point in their lives, every one of those students, they're actually getting ready for that employment, enlistment, enrollment part of their lives. In fact, some of them are out of the enrollment part and moving into the employment part in this picture. So this is the why. We are creating experiences for our students so that they know what's next and so that we build a workforce for tomorrow. That's our purpose. We know we need this. I think there's probably no one in this room that isn't familiar with what we're doing in all of our communities here in the Northland, but we need a workforce to be able to do some of the things we want to do. That's our purpose. And we need more space to be able to do that. We are flat out of that space. We have all the organizations on this slide as well. They're supporting us. They're behind us. You can see Northland Chamber. You can see the Kansas City Real World Learning Collaborative. All these different groups are behind us already, as well as all of our economic development partners, chambers, and everything. At this point, this next slide, gotta remember I'm clicking this. This is some testimonials from some students, but you can see it on the screen. But I actually want you to hear from a Northland Career Center student graduate. Aaron's going to come up and just talk about his experiences at NCC. So come on up, Aaron.
Hi, so I'm Aaron Cradfield. I was in the industrial welding class. I graduated in 2021. I could kind of talk all day about fun stories that I had in the shop, but what's been much, well, that's why I'm not saying it. What's been much more impactful is just the leadership skills. Thanks. I turned 21 on Thursday, and I'm in a career right now where all my coworkers have kids my age. Where the closest person to my age is 35 at work. I learned how to be an advocate for myself, how to use what I know in the 2 years I was in the building and get a job that people who are far older than me have to go through years of schooling, have to learn all sorts of different skills that I just had right off the bat. It's impacted my life in ways I haven't even got to experience yet, how it's going to impact me in the future when I'm ready for retirement, that I'm already at this point now that people 30 years old are probably just getting into. I've already gone through a full career change in the 3 years it's been since I graduated high school. Went from welding to I now do property management for the Target Corporation. Job I never would have thought in a million years I would have been doing. And it's now looking like the whole future. And I have all that to thank to Kurt Claycomb, and my instructor, and Mr. Green, and all the other teachers in the building. They just care so much about making young leaders is really all that it is. Making us all drive and care about our own lives and what we want in the future. It's just something that I've never really experienced at another place before.
Thank you. Good job.
I could stand up here all day long and try to say what he just said, but coming from a graduate is it's just awesome. So thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you being here. So the next slide, we're talking about, and we talked about this already a little bit, but I want to highlight a couple of things. We can only take so many students. So part of what we're already doing is not working. We have the one that's highlighted, industrial welding. There's 114 students on the waiting list the past 3 years. We just can't physically put them in our space anymore. Another one I always like to point out is there's another one with a much higher number. 213 health sciences students. Those are CNAs and other entry-level health sciences jobs. We cannot put enough students out there ready to go. And all of these are students that are going to come out of our school credentialed. We've got to have more space to be able to do those things. We've got to have 3 sections of nursing instead of just 1. We've got to have 4 sections of welding instead of just 2. We just have to have it. So you can see some stats up there that kind of talk about all the different programs we have and why we need more space. Yep.
Can I ask a question? I see there you had 20 and 21. So are all those total, those that were on the waiting list from 20 and 21, do you have more recent?
More recent numbers. Those numbers are kind of an average number over a couple of years. And so those numbers don't change a whole lot in the current space we have. I would say that it fluctuates, a couple of % every year. But when we start averaging them in 3-year groups, they're very, very stable. Well, we need them to be going up or going down, excuse me. I want to talk to this program. We have 12 programs right now. This center at the full build out will double our programs. So we're going to offer not just the same programs in more capacity, but adding more programs as well. For example, electrical and plumbing is a program that we kind of touch on in our heating and cooling program and our construction program, but we're going to have a full course in that. Electrical is a whole nother industry. So we're looking at tons of programs. There's a document that we have that is in your packets as well. You can see. Okay, this slide does not line up with the packet. That's always good. In one of the next slide that I have in my thing here is the packets I gave out. There's a whole bunch of different pieces of information in there. There's a cover letter that talks about what we're doing. There's a case statement, kind of talks about the why and what we're doing. There's a flyer, one-page flyer, in case you want to hand it out to anybody or give it to different groups. It's a one-page, very quick flyer. We also, and we'll talk about this a little bit differently in a minute, but the naming rights document as well. We've developed with our partner, our fundraising partner, a way to name certain spaces. So if you wanted a lab, the Smithville City Heating and Cooling Lab, that's a possibility based on donation levels as well. So that's an example. I wanted to give you that information. And now I want to make sure that I give Michelle an opportunity. Did you want to talk about this? I wanted her to talk about Smithville schools in Smithville and how it's already supported, but she wanted an opportunity to do that again today. And I do have to apologize to this group. There is a typo in this slide, and it talks about Liberty School District. That is a typo. The data is right, but apparently we missed that when we changed the presentation for tonight. So thank you, Michelle.
We'll forgive them because they're doing this in all of the school districts, so wouldn't want you to start from
I
scratch.
forget what Brian said. 27? I think is what he told me today.
So I can speak about Northland Career Center and the Workforce Development Center from multiple perspectives. From a parent perspective, I have served for the last 8 years as the chairperson of the Northland Career Center Advisory Board. And then obviously from the sending school perspective, just to touch on something that Jeff just shared, we could send more students to Northland Career Center. We have the funds to do that in our district, but because of the limitations on the number of students they can take in the programs, we have kids who don't get to go. And I think one of the things I'm most excited about with this development is that we won't have to say no to kids any longer. Because as a parent, I know how important it was for my child to be able to participate in one of these programs. It was his calling. This is what, all of the 12 years of experience that he had in the Smithville schools, this is what it led up to for him. This is what he wants to do with his life. And we have kids who would like to have similar opportunities, and we have to tell them no just because there's not a space for them at Northland Career Center. I'm very excited about the location of the new Workforce Development Center. It'll be a much safer drive for our students or bus ride. Aaron did not take the bus. He drove every day, and I held my breath the whole time because 92 is not a forgiving highway at all. And then he would tell me some of the stories of the things that they were, passing and all that. So it's just a much better route for our kiddos if they're on the bus or if they're driving. The opportunities that our students obtain by being able to participate in programs like this really rounds out the options that we have for students. We have a lot of wonderful options right here at the homeschool. However, for some students, they need something more like this. And we would love to be able to provide that opportunity for more of our kids.
We're going to miss Michelle next year. Tomorrow's your last institutional advisory board meeting, so I'm sad about that. Very, very sad. So the whole reason we're here is let's build a new state-of-the-art center that's going to help increase our students and our graduates and our credentialed young men and women to be ready for the workforce. And even if that means they're going to college, that's okay. We want them to go on, and some of these jobs do require further education. So again, enrolled, enlisted, or employed. That's our goal for all of our kids. We want to be able to have that centralized location to bring our kids together and get those credentials. We have a short video here. It's about 6 minutes. Is that okay to play?
Go for it.
Okay. And it is not this. This must be an ad, yep. Although this is related. Volume. There you go. It should start.
Opening in 1980, Northland Career Center was designed to serve a consortium of approximately 3,400 high school students across 5 school districts. The consortium has grown significantly over the past 43 years. Our Northland Sending School partners currently serve over 17,000 high school students across Clay and Platte counties. NCC's current enrollment at its Platte City campus has exceeded the capacity of the Platte City facility. Approximately 59% of NCC's students come from Clay County, while 41% come from Platte County. The Northland Consortium continues to grow, as do the waiting lists for many of our NCC programs. We continue to turn away students due to space limitations at our current campus.
Over the past 10 years, Northland Career Center has worked with Clay County EDC, Platte County EDC, the Northland Chamber, and other Kansas City strategic partners and local businesses to determine the workforce needs for the area. NCC has also listened to the needs of its 7 school districts and 16 high school partners to determine their students' interests and desires. NCC's shared vision includes a new facility featuring 10 industry academies, including approximately 25 programs. These academies align to the National Career Cluster Framework, and they include architecture and construction, hospitality, manufacturing, health sciences, information technology, transportation, public safety, arts, education and training, and agricultural sciences. NCC will continue to strategically serve the needs of Northland sending schools and business partners. And additionally, NCC will continue to integrate academics and essential employability curriculum into all of its programs.
We have been given a unique opportunity to construct a facility that fosters the growth of Northland students and patrons in the heart of Kansas City. Progress towards this vision is thanks to state funding and support from our Northland state legislators and Governor Parson. Our early local supporters are appreciated for their commitment, with their contributions being matched by our state grant. The facility, located just north of 152 Highway on Platte Purchase Road, will benefit individuals of all ages. The Northland Workforce Development Center aims to expand career options and reduce current wait lists while simultaneously creating pipelines of highly skilled candidates to meet workforce needs in the region. It will also enhance social mobility for secondary and adult students from low-income households. To our partners in the Northland and Kansas City area, your support is crucial to realizing this premier real-world learning and career education experience. Let's make this happen together.
The location will serve as a gathering point for local strategic partners and agencies to have economic development and workforce development discussions. This center will be instrumental in building and inspiring our future workforce. It's exciting to see so many academies represented that support the needs of Clay and Platte County.
This facility will provide Metropolitan Community College with an opportunity to offer evening and weekend classes for working adults aspiring to earn a credential or workforce-related degree. Accessibility to participate in those classes is key, which is why locating the Northland Career Center in the heart of thriving businesses and large residential areas is important to reducing adult learner travel times. A working adult with family and job commitments will be able to take the needed steps to complete coursework if their commute time is reduced. In my many years in higher education, assisting learners with overcoming barriers to attending college has been a lasting priority. As a result, MCC's work to continue assisting students with selecting the best career program, defraying the cost of education, and ensuring success in all coursework will carry over to the courses and programs offered at the new Northland Workforce Development Center. Know that the availability of various courses and programs in the evenings and weekends will provide additional avenues for higher learning. These extended hours will prove to be helpful for parents, caregivers, and workers who have traditional Monday through Friday daytime schedules, and increase opportunities for adult students that require flexibility and a supportive network of instructors and staff.
The Northland Workforce Development Center will provide relevant and meaningful experiences for all students, including advancement opportunities and support systems for learners to achieve their workforce dreams. We have collaborated with community and regional partners to foster a workforce vision of the future. Now we are focused on turning this vision into a reality to best serve the Northland community. We are fully engaged in our fundraising campaign, seeking funding from various sources. We feel so fortunate to have received a large matching grant from the state of Missouri, thanks to our state legislators and governor. This plan is about partnership. This plan is about workforce advancement. This plan is about providing career opportunities for our local youth and adult learners to contribute to the success of the Northland. Please contact us if you would like more information on how you can contribute to this project, and thank you for your consideration and support.
There you go. I don't have an escape key. Can you hit escape and then it'll point out, I don't know how to get out of this. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. That's you. This one? This one?
Alt tab.
This one? Used to do it all the time, but I haven't done it in 2 years now. My new role. Put me right back there. Minimize that.
Yep.
And then not clicking the video. There we go. All right. See, I need to take one of these classes on how to do this anymore. So what is it going to cost us? The video kind of talked about that just a little bit. Basically, we have some news in that department. We have just finished up basically becoming our own entity. The Northland Workforce Development Center Corporation was officially established in December of 2023, and it is a 501c3 corporation. So that will allow us to kind of manage some of our donations and a little bit differently. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is raise, we have the $30 million match. We have another $7 million in match money that's coming from the state. And then we have to raise the additional 37 million. So you can see some of what that's going to actually do. Construction and land is about 58 million of that. Soft cost is another 16 million. The total need is that $74 million. So that's kind of a little bit about the cost on this. So this is not a small ask. This is a big ask, but we are working hard to make sure everyone's aware and knows what we're trying to do here. We are. I can't remember if Brian put slides in here for the where we're at, but we still have a long ways to go, and that's part of the reason why we're out here asking and making everyone aware of this campaign. We have a lot of room to grow on this. The programming, the video talked about that a little bit. We have the current programs on the left, and then potential future programs on the right, and we hope to, as soon as we open, have some new programs right away, and then over time build to a full build out where our building is full with all these programs or versions of this. So we're excited about that. We have a lot of students that ask. Cosmetology is, like I said earlier, is our #1 request from our setting schools. We have no place to do it. We have to build the space for that because of the plumbing and the things it needs to even function, and the ventilation and things like that. So those are all things that we're keeping in mind as we design and work through this. And that's why some of the cost is so high, because it's not just the building, it's all the specialty stuff on the inside. So we also want to make sure we point out that this is a building we want to have in use all the time. We like to say 24 hours a day, but at least sun up to sundown. We want this building being used. MCC is very excited about partnering with us and making sure that we have evening options as well. We are also exploring the possibility of having childcare for in the evenings as well, so that those parents that have kids at home after school have a place for their kid to go so they can continue to get training. So we are working very hard on that as well. We like I said, we want it all the time. We're every day as much as we can have programs going on there. Our campaign dashboard, this is where we are as of when this slide was built. Total goal is 74 million, and right now we are total pledged at $35.8 million is where we're at. So we have a long ways to go. You can see we talk about the buckets. Those are the different buckets that we're kind of focusing on. Foundations is one. So there's lots of different foundations in the area. We're talking to them. That's where the 501c3 really came into play there. They would not talk to us until we had that. State and local, which is where the state has pitched in the 37 million, and there's a little bit more in there as well. Federal, we have a $5 million hope out of that. We've been working with some of our federal legislators. Industry and corporations, we need 12 million of it from there, and individuals about 4 million. And you can see we had 66,500 brought in up to this point. So the naming rights document I mentioned earlier, that's in the packets that I handed out. You can kind of see what that looks like. If anyone in here is ready for that big donation, we have program storage areas and emerald wall, which is a big wall. That's for 25,000 plus. So if you want to get out your checkbooks tonight, we will take them. But otherwise, this is our program. We went about a year just in developing these levels, going with lots of different other campaigns and how they did it, and tried to find out what worked and what didn't. So that was a long process to get that, and then thinking about what those spaces would look like. We do have a couple of organizations that said, hey, I want to be the XYZ company lab, and so they're donating a little bit there, or a lot for that. So have that opportunity if that interests people. And then our strategy update. We are fortunate to have a wonderful team. And then we have 26 members of the campaign. We actually have a meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30. Be our last one for the summer, for the early part of the summer. We'll skip July and then have another one back in August, early September. We have 26 members from lots of different areas of this project. Everyone is working every second they have extra to get this going. I would say more than extra. That's probably a better term. So the rest of these slides are kind of property renderings and all that. Does everybody know where Costco is in the Northland? Most people, you can reference that. It's 1 mile north of there. This property is 1 mile north of Costco on Platte Purchase Road. So I always want to make sure that I share that to give people context to where it is. There is a sign, if you're curious, if you drive down there, just go just north of Platte Purchase Middle School, which is the new middle school down there just north of Costco. And you'll see a sign that looks kind of like some of the slides you've seen today. That it's right there on the property, and you can kind of look out and see it. It kind of goes to where the houses are kind of starting to be built. So it's 19 acres there. We're real excited about that property. In fact, I'm excited about it enough that sometimes you'll see my Bronco sitting out there, and I'll be just kind of walking around out there envisioning what it's going to look like. So anyway, so Mayor and Michelle, have I forgotten anything that?
So it'd be a wonderful opportunity for all of our kids to be able to do this. We do have, again, these 5 buckets. This is a heavy lift for us. I want you to know we are giving these presentations everywhere. And we are going to all the potential skill pass industry that is related to those skill paths. We are going to them and saying, hey, we want you to help us build this workforce. We need this facility to be able to do that. So we're asking industry. So if you have any industry, any kind of company in your community here that you think would be interested, we went to Liberty just 2 weeks ago, and we got into 2 different companies from that, and it was very advantageous. So we're asking for that. Well, we have the QR code. Do we have?
Yes, it's actually, keep going. I'll show it to you. These are some of the renderings that you've got that in your packets. That QR code there will take you right to our donation site. We have enabled a company to help us manage that, and they handle all the. It's very easy. You scan it. You log right in. Very simple to do.
And
I've done it.
And this QR code is really valuable for what I call little money. Little money adds up. And I'm just telling you, if it's something that you personally would be passionate about, you have a grandson or a son that would be utilizing something like this, go to that QR code and donate something, because that makes a huge difference. So that is 1 bucket of our 5. And I really believe that we can move the needle with that if we just encourage people just to donate something.
Go ahead.
So Mayor Rose, thank you so much. I completely agree with you about the Northland and how proud we are and what's happening here. Dr. Crowderfield, thank you for your input. Aaron, congratulations. That's pretty cool to go from attending that to the position you're at. And Jeff, thank you for being here. Just 2 quick questions about, is the land purchased then, or is
This land is purchased. We use some of that to do that.
Excellent, excellent. And then the next most important thing is I know that fundraising can be a major task. Is there some goals of those 5 buckets that you've spoken of on how quickly you want to fill those buckets? I know ideally it'd be all of them as quick as possible, but what's the thoughts?
And if I can interrupt for 1 second, Mayor Rose and Jeff, when you speak, if you'll speak into the microphone to make sure that we get this even on the video. Thanks.
So our timeline is we have to have this facility built and the bills paid by the end of 2026.
Thank you.
And yes, we have different variants. Sorry. You've answered, well, repeat that first part of your question before so I can answer it correctly.
Yeah, so it's obviously, Mayor Rose showed 2026 built and the bills paid. So that gives us a pretty good idea. My question was just the goals specifically around filling those buckets.
I can't speak to specific goals per bucket. I do know that the state dollars, that bucket that's pretty much, we're done with that one. So we know that that bucket's full. Not that we're not going to keep trying and keep asking for more, but that they've indicated that bucket is we're done with for the most part.
But
But
municipal money
yes.
goes in that same bucket.
So
My
yes.
city has donated and it went into that bucket. The city of Kansas City has donated and it went into that bucket. So we're hitting the foundations. That's another thing. Many of the companies, if you're employed or if your relatives are employed, a lot of them have charitable organizations and they have charitable organizations within their companies that they give back. We would love to make a presentation to any of them if you know anybody that does that. I have been really working the foundation bucket very heavy. And then the industry bucket, the personal bucket, the federal. We are on that as well. So we truly believe we can get there or we wouldn't be standing here in front of you today. But it's going to be a big task.
Just curious, have you been to Ford?
We have, and we are waiting on an answer. So I think it should be a good one.
I have a question. I echo Alderman Hartman's thanks for you and the team, excuse me, giving the presentation. The question I have is how are students selected and are there any Smithville students on the wait list?
Would you like to? Okay, fine. So students and from all schools are selected on ultimately they apply. And then once they've applied, we have a team of people that look through all the applications. We then reach out to the sending school counselors because our sending schools know their kids. We don't when they're first applying. And so we have those conversations with, are they ready for graduation? Are they on track to graduate? If they're not on track to graduate, NCC can actually harm them because they're pulled out of their school for too much. They don't get enough credits to graduate. So we have those conversations up front. We do look at the standard things like GPA and all those types of things that you think about when you talk about schools. Those aren't weighted real heavy. They might be a tiebreaker in case like that. Ultimately, what we're really looking at is we look at their application, what their career interests are at that time, where do they want to go? We ask those questions on the application, and then we bring them to the school. And so they actually spend a day as a sophomore or as a junior if they want to do it their senior year, and they spend a day in class, the class they're interested in. And sometimes they'll come 3 times because they're trying different classes. And then our teachers talk to them and ask them questions, and we kind of get a feel for the student there as well. All of that goes into one big rubric. And then our counselor then that basically calls the schools back and says, here's our list prioritized, and then kind of where's it go from there. And the answer is for Smithville, I should have brought the exact number. Maybe you know it. So they did not. So and every school will end up with some students that don't come. Your bigger population schools probably have a little bit more just because there's just more numbers. But we do not have a quota. We do not say that North Kansas City automatically gets this and Smithville automatically gets that. It is looked at as a whole and then kind of brought together. We want to make it as fair as possible. There are kids that are disappointed. There are opportunities usually within the first few weeks of school as well to they come and they go, you know what, this isn't right. So then in that first week or two, we'll still pull more in if off the waiting list as well. So we want to make sure that we're taking every seat if we can and utilizing opportunities for our building to help our kids get in the building. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I've taken some of the evening classes over in Platte City. So will you continue to offer those, like just the simple like crocheting, or some of them that are like for seniors when they're getting into the retirement years and just that type of planning and
So
stuff?
that's our community education program.
Okay.
And that runs at night. We have a person that is in charge of our community education. The answer to that question is, it is our intent to continue to offer that. We actually have plans in this space to kind of grow that. Not just, we talked about MCC and offering classes like that, but continuing the community education programs, but also adding more training type programs as well. So, it might even, we actually, I've already talked to some of our city council members about bringing the blue bus up there at night as well from the Berry Road route. It's just, 2 nights a week, we have a connector there with a bus, and we have classes for them as well, for different kinds of classes and different kinds of enrichment, things like that. How to balance your checkbook correctly or understand the new ways of doing that. And we're really wanting this to be community approached, but also degree and credential approached as well.
I bet Miss Wagner's got some city budget curriculum she could share with you. Yeah, I really do appreciate your guys' time. If there's no other questions from the board, I've worked in a couple of these facilities. I worked for Northwest and for UCM. UCM did the big project down with Lee Summit School District. It's been great to work in that building, and then Northwest, their new building, North Oak, and then my wife is at MCC in the forensics and criminal justice department. So she goes to Blue Springs or Longview, so it's a poke to get down there. So appreciate you guys looking at doing this, and hopefully we get a few views of this and some of the board members feel inclined to jump in as well and donate. So
Please talk about this. Share this message with people so that they know. Again, we cannot begin to get to everyone. So we need you all to be able to do that, because that's how important this is to all of us.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time very, very much. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good meeting this evening. And
Got another one to
I
get
do-
to.
yeah, thank you, Dr. Craddofield. Enjoy retirement. We're gonna miss you. She's good, Chief. She's gonna obey all speed limits until the southern border. Chief, we just need to get the academy in there so we don't have to drive all the way to Independence. It's a long drive. Anybody need a break? All right,
No breaks?
all good.
Good deal. Well, good evening. Tonight, we're going to go over a few presentations, the first one being the 6-month financial update. We are a couple weeks past when we normally was going to do this, but I had a family emergency, so we're going to combine 3 presentations tonight. You'll start seeing some similar graphics and whatnot throughout this, but this is our first pass for a lot of this stuff. So, all right, starting off, just having a quick recap of the budget amendments that we've had for fiscal '24. First one was in November. These were carryover projects from the previous year in the combined water and wastewater project or fund. The second amendment was 3,000 to the general fund, which was for the police unionization, as well as 200,000 in the combined water and wastewater fund for additional expenditures, as well as emergency funds needed. The third one was in May. That one was a split between the general fund and the combined water and wastewater fund for loggers and our new IT service that we are switching over to right now. Also worth noting is the two grants that we received, just under $1.5 million. And then also worth noting, in January, we got the authorization to go to market for the COP bonds. First off is just a general overview of the general fund. As a reminder, the general fund is the main operating account for the city that provides service, your basic services throughout the city. We are projecting an increase of roughly just over $400,000 at this point. This will be, we will go over some slides here shortly. Most of it is interest income and taxes. Expenditures, we're not expecting a huge increase at this point. So we kept it relatively the same. And then the projects that we go through for the general fund are listed there. We have the first one, 4th Street improvement, which is completed. Quincy Boulevard, that asterisk means we could have had a chance of having this done today, but it will be done this week. And then wayfinding signage. First up, property tax. Property tax has already met our budget for the year for fiscal 24. We do expect a little bit more to trickle in throughout the rest of the 6 months. And again, a reminder, January is our big month. That is our month that we substantially collect everything that goes into this fund. One item that is going to be on staff's horizon in the property tax fund or property tax revenue is the Clay County, senior real estate property tax relief. That is going to be going into effect in the next couple of years. Applicants can start applying January 1st of 25. And then that'll have an effect for our fiscal 26. That we are keeping a close eye on. If I did a quick calculation just looking at our sanitation fund, we also have a discount on our sanitation fund. That is roughly 15% of our total households. And just here is a quick projection. Also, I should probably follow up. When they do this property freeze for the seniors, it's going to be, the base is going to be the 24 property taxes. So anything above that will be waived if they are approved.
My understanding with that though, too, with that being waived, I think we have to apply every year. So
You
that
do
could
have to apply every
fluctuate
year.
every year. If somebody
Yes.
forgets to apply as well. So
Right. That is a yearly applicant. Moving on to city sales tax. We are doing very well this year still. As a reminder, the marijuana sales tax is combined into this bucket. Both are doing great at this point. Here is a quick 3-year projection of where we're at. If the economy keeps on going along, we should be probably slightly above the projection here. Just not knowing what's going to happen is always in the back of our minds. Use tax. Use tax is a very interesting revenue stream this year. We are doing very well. Right now, we are 173,000 above budget in the use tax. And here's just the last 3-year trend.
Rick, you really feel that we can, the projections right now are trending towards 903,000 then?
We are.
That's fantastic.
Yep. You can see in 23, there was a little dip, and I did a little digging into that. Our, our second quarter of 23 did have a decline, but we did not see that this year at all. So,
Again, just, I know that the general public may not remember this. This is through October 31st because our fiscal year starts November 1st.
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. And taxes such as this is usually a month, sometimes 2 months behind a lag. Next up is a couple other revenue buckets that we like to share with you. First up is income revenue. Again, doing extremely well. Don't see much of a change in this going forward for the remaining rest of the year. We should end up pretty strong. In the building permit revenue, I do have that projection. We did move to 65,000. Right now, building permit revenue is not really coming to fruition. We are getting to summer. We are still starting to see some activity, but we are definitely below where we budgeted for this year. Here's a slide I added, just so we could go over and see what we did for quarter one, what our projections were during quarter one. In quarter one, we were unsure of the property tax. Money was still kind of rolling in at that point. We are now projecting roughly 23,000 higher. For sales tax, we had originally projected 53, now at 77. Use tax was 100, now at 173. Interest income was at 202, now at 279. And building permits, at that time, we had decreased it by 150,000. That is now 135,000 with that extra $10,000. So the bottom line, as of right now, the general fund is looking extremely strong. I added this slide again, just this is the overview of the general fund. This is what we started out with. Just because we dissected the general fund, I wanted to show this one more time so you guys can see where we're at.
Can I
What
make a
we're thinking.
comment here? I
Yep.
should have said so before we got here. Should that be financial year 24 instead of 23? We've got second quarter. In your little
Between
asterisk.
your bullet point,
Oh.
between the graphs.
I noticed it in the other one before too. Before.
Yes,
Update that so it's
Yes.
correct. Okay.
apologize for that.
Like I said, I should have let you know before tonight and I did not, so.
No, you're fine. Totally fine. And again, just a quick overview of what the bottom line projection is for the general fund.
So Rick, in synopsis of the general fund, our interest income, our use tax is up. Obviously, our permitting is down. So it looks like, I mean, we're going to be okay, at least initially. I know the next 3 months is hard to tell, but I appreciate you looking at that and kind of spelling it out for us.
Right.
I mean, from a revenue standpoint, it wouldn't be so okay if it was all down. So at least we're
Right.
doing all right.
We are doing well at this point.
And I think part of that too, you're still looking at like for that ending fund balance, what's projected. We're still looking at currently, we're still using some of what I don't really want to call it excess reserve, but spending some of that down in
Correct.
what we've done as well, correct?
Which was planned.
Yeah,
I know it's planned.
right, it
yeah,
was planned,
yeah.
but I'm just saying.
This
if
reduces
somebody
that
looked
amount,
at-
that
right,
need if
right.
this continues. I do want to note also, and, oh, go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead, because I was gonna go to the next slide because of that. comment.
Okay, I would just note, and Rick and I went back and forth on this as we were putting it together and as he was presenting it, some things gelled in my mind today. I actually also think, we saw a significant increase in sales taxes, but we see a significant increase in commercial in town. We're seeing some development on the south end of town. We know that in the coming weeks, there are additional restaurants going to be opening in town. So I am hopeful that, because Rick and I went back and forth, and I think we were maybe a little more conservative in our estimates for sales taxes than what he thought was thinking. And I said, let's rein it back. I want to make sure. And I think this is a conservative estimate. So I'm hoping we'll see that even go up when we're talking third quarter and finalizing the year.
Just, again, you've mentioned arrears or trails a month for sure. I mean, is it pretty average, a month to 2 months, or do we see some of the
Right.
revenue come in?
Missouri seems to be right around at 1 month. Now, that's also like use tax. That's also on the company that's making the sell, on them submitting that to the state. So it could be over a month. Sales tax is probably trending as close to a month as possible.
That's the use tax dip that Rick indicated in second quarter last year. A lot of that was based on timing, particularly of a couple of big online retailers.
All right. Our general fund does have a reserve balance of 25%. We are, and this was planned, this is not something that's should take you by surprise. We are projecting roughly 36.8% at the end of this year. The fund balance reserve is typically there just to mitigate future risk. If we'd have a shortfall in sales tax that fell off, we would have to dip into the reserves, but in the near future, we do not see any problem with that. 25% is a pretty normal policy that you see at a city.
Rick, I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but we're paying attention to the FDIC insurance guarantee, right? I mean, we have relationships with other lending institutions or banking institutions. Or are we not exceeding that with our fund balance?
We are not exceeding
Okay.
that because of the type of account that we have.
Right. Okay, so it's.
So we are
gotcha,
not bound by that
Okay,
FDIC.
good.
Because what happens, your excess funds, usually a financial institution is going to put bonds or securities up to
They-
guarantee that, to
They
protect those funds.
pledge, they pledge money. Sometimes these accounts with cities also get swept out overnight as well. So, but typically it's a pledging, and we do pledge.
I can tell you, we have a lot of accounts. It's a stack like this tall you have to sign. When they changed the bank name, we had to re-sign them all. We have
When we got a new finance director, we had
Yeah.
to re-sign them all.
which we've done 3 times. It's assistant city administrator. New CD rolls over, sign them all.
And I know it's kind of getting into the weeds too, but like on an occasion, if you end up having to go into the reserves, you've got, what is it, 3 years to replenish that back up to that level? Is that correct?
That was what I had at my previous
Okay.
city. I don't know if Missouri has a different policy or statute on that.
It's a good question. I think that is the case. Yeah.
And like you can tell, we're sitting at 82% of our budget was a bad use of taxpayer dollars, just having it sit in the bank with no interest. I mean, if you look back then, we're getting a couple $100 in interest those years, I think.
Now, I will also
Yeah.
note that it was nice to have that when we had some things come up.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that dip in 2018 and then in
Emery.
2019, we had a road that we had to fix.
Yep.
And it was not, it is nice to have those reserves for things like that.
The percent of that dollar amount was, if we did this on dollar amounts, the numbers would look very different too, because we had a lot less money coming in. I think the 2018 budget was about $3.5 million. Our sales tax revenues are projected at 400,000 because that's what we put on the bond in 18. And we can see it's 900,000. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Matt probably knows 750, 800 is what's park sales tax coming in, and we projected it like 415. So it's a smaller percentage of a much bigger number.
All right. Before we move on from the general fund, any other questions regarding the general fund?
Nope.
And of course, you can ask anytime, just while it's fresh. All right, we're gonna go through a few of these other funds. Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. We are slightly above where we are. I know that percentage at the end does not show, it's kind of being covered up there. But because of the grants that we received from MoDOT, the reimbursements, we are overall slightly up. Down below are the projects for the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. As you can see, we have 2 in progress and 2 that have not started yet for this year. And because of the in progress and not started, we're keeping the expenditures flat for right now. And here's a 3-year. This, of course, is skewed again because of that 1.5 million.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for making the graph look that way.
He's working hard, man. He's getting us money.
Yeah.
That's the whole plan. Transportation sales tax, again, slightly doing a little better. Again, we have MARC reimbursement funds in there, just under $1 million. As far as projects go for the transportation sales tax fund, we are doing pretty good. We got 2 of them completed. And we have the sidewalks, which is the one that does have the grant.
This may not be the place to say it, but I'm going to say it. With the detour on 169, the traffic that's on Eagle Parkway and across 180th, I don't know what we can look at after that's all done. If it can go into this next budget year or if it has to go into 2025, I'm really thinking we're really going to have to look at those 2 streets, city streets, because the semis are ignoring the no truck. And I've seen some really heavy equipment being moved along there. So just put that on the radar, I think, for down the road.
Sounds like MoDOT needs to reimburse us, since they offered it, if we used it as a detour and people use it anyway. Send some hypo to sit there and hang out.
And real quick, here's the 3-year history of that fund. Next is the Combined Water and Wastewater Fund. We are slightly above again. This is going to be due, as we'll see here shortly, due to water and wastewater sales, which are doing a little better than projected. Expenditures have decreased here, and we will see here shortly. We have about 2.7 worth of projects that are kind of on the back burner right now, making up that expenditure decrease. Don't know if we'll get to them this year. Just as we're projecting right now, we decided to take that 2.7 off. Here's a quick list of projects within that fund. Next up, we'll see the water sales and wastewater sales. Both of these have decreased. Typically for water sales, we're at just under 45% for the year. Right now, we are at 47. And for wastewater sales, we are typically just over 47%. And right now, we are over 53%. And the 3-year chart for both water and wastewater, pretty consistent year over year. Every year we are increasing in both, and this year is no change. We should see it slightly higher than our budgeted amount. This is a snapshot of the bottom line for the combined water and wastewater. One thing to keep in mind is this is highly dependent on the timing of our COP bonds. So that will affect this chart dramatically. Right now, we are assuming that those are still going to be done this year, and so that our revenues are just higher because of the water and wastewater. Next up is the sanitation fund. As this year progressed, staff has realized that there had been a billing error on GFL's side. We are working with them to get a refund to come back to the city. They had 2 different ideas or letters as far as what they were going to charge. We had agreed on one and they went with the other one. So we are getting a little bit back for this fund. In 2025, we will go out to bid for trash services. And also we will be addressing, the 26th?
It's 26, I think we, yeah. This will go out in
We'll
25 for the
be
new
going out
contract
to
in 26,
25 for
sorry.
the
Yeah, sorry.
26. Yep.
This fiscal year thing was really confusing me.
Had a lot going on lately, so. And then also what we will be looking at is the admin fee. Since this is considered an enterprise fund, this is a service done by the city that we should not be losing money on. The admin fee, typically for something like this is roughly 2 to 3%. With GFL, we spend a lot of time talking to customers. They will call GFL, not get the answer or a response, and call the city. We have daily calls regarding GFL that we are attending to. It'll be a discussion for staff to kind of come up with a better admin percentage that we believe the city should get to make up for that timing with all the customer service that we have to do for them.
And as we proceed through the budget process, we'll have information and additional discussion on that.
Right.
And I do want to note the billing. Typically, GFL sends a letter and we kind of negotiate and have discussions with that. And the amount that the board approves on an annual basis is very rarely what goes out in that first letter. So that's where the confusion was. They were billing us for a period of time, for a significant period of time at the initial rate. And in reviewing that and understanding where we were on revenues and, excuse me, the expenditures as we were going through there, staff identified that it had been overbilled. We were working to get that, and they are going to credit it back to us.
Right.
I guess there needs to be clarification. That's the only place where that error has occurred. It's not what the customers are what it's.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Yes,
I'm-
that is the,
It-
so,
yeah.
and
it
I am
is
so
the
sorry.
city's
Yes,
charge.
yes, it is.
I just
So
wanted-
the city is billed.
Yeah.
We collect the revenues from customers and we were being, those weren't jiving. Yeah, absolutely.
We have,
Get the admin fee that'll go against,
Pardon?
our admin fee won't come out to, by our customers. It'll come out from the,
It'd be part of the, it would be
would
part
be-
of the rate review.
right.
It would be, yeah.
No, thank you, Alderman Wilson. I think that was important clarification.
Yes,
point.
yeah. Yeah.
Not a problem. Park and stormwater sales tax fund. We are projecting just a little higher at this. We do have a grant that is built in there at 184,000 for that last project, the OK Railroad Trail. And this fund is doing exactly what it should be doing at this point. 6 months in, we have 3 that have started, 1 complete, and 1 to get started on. Last fund that we are going to look at is the vehicle and equipment replacement fund. Again, this is through enterprise. Right now, we are at the capacity that the city decided we would go with enterprise, which is 38 vehicles. Going forward, now that we added 11 and 24, with the majority of them being in the police department, this fund will have to be increased just a little bit. And this is the time that we'll start being able to dissect this fund and have a little comparison to what it was before enterprise.
Rick,
Up until this point, we had city owned as well as enterprise. And
my question is, again, the number comes to mind of police vehicles. Maybe that's an answer for chief. Is that a roughly 20, 21 of the 38, or is that too high?
11.
11. I don't know why
Well, and the cheap, there's white fleet too, that like Chief's car is
Right,
not counted as a
right.
police car.
so 11
As patrol cars.
is patrol cars.
Yep. A patrol, detective, yeah, 2 detective and yours. Or 1 detective. Tony, you.
So then that would be, the rest would be through city, through public works,
yes.
utilities.
Utilities, Public Works, Parks and Recreation,
Tax department.
inspections.
Matt's got a dump truck now, I think.
Dump truck is not through
Li-
the Berkeley.
Lift gate,
Liftgate, yeah.
the 6,500, right? It's still enterprise. Yeah, dump bed, sorry.
No, thank you for that clarification, Chief, and 11, Cynthia. I don't know why I thought it was higher, but of the 38 we have currently,
11
11 are
11 in the
police.
And they look nice and they're bright. You can definitely see those lights from the horizon. Before you get the hill, you see them. All right, just last slide here, just kind of a wrap up of everything we talked to. Property tax, sales tax, use tax, all exceeding budget at this point. Building permits, as we discussed, is down, but the future does look good. Interest earnings, of course, is higher, and don't expect that to have any downturn in the near future. Expenditures, staff at this time is not projecting any significant changes to expenditures. And capital projects for this year, we will just continue to monitor and report back as much as possible. One thing that I do want to mention is during this process, during the board retreat as well, we can have a discussion of additional work sessions for the budget, for CIP. I think that's warranted at this point. Okay. Thank you.
One of the other
Great.
things too, Rick, and I don't know if you're gonna talk about this later, but as we're going through the financial information now, would ask that you think about the format or any different information that you might like to see, and we can perhaps talk through that at the retreat as well, if there are different ways you'd like to see the information as to how it's presented.
No, thank you, Rick, I know your experience and your background in municipality finance is welcomed, and I appreciate that. It was a very clean, clear update and the answer to all the questions. So thank you.
All right, anything else before we move on to the next one?
Move on. That's not the sunset, that's the lights off the police car.
That is.
Lighting up the sky. That's how bright they are.
That is. All right, next up is the department review. This will be done by myself as well as the rest of the directors. During this, the department review is an opportunity to highlight recent accomplishments and successes and identify future goals that we will be looking at. Also included on each slide or each department section is a high-level budget summary, as well as a chart, high-level organizational chart as well. And first up is Gina.
Good evening. I'm Gina Pate, Assistant City Administrator. We have 3 full-time staff in our department, City Administrator, myself, and City Clerk, and then also 2 part-time legal counsel. This year, for fiscal year 24, we've continued our partnership with Smithville Main Street District. This is the 4th and final year of this MOU. We started a new MOU with Smithville Chamber of Commerce, and Erica will be at the work session on June 18th to provide all the updates that they've been working on. We have focused on enhancing our communications citywide, both internally and externally, and focusing a lot more on training. This was the 3rd year that we've administered the Neighborhood Beautification Grant. This year we awarded it to 4 neighborhoods, and Cedar Lakes has already completed theirs, so that's great. We've also enhanced our employee wellness program. We're currently doing a step challenge this month, and we have a biometric screening, so our employees are enjoying our wellness program benefits. The board approved recently the Lockers Retirement Program enhancement, and that'll go into effect on July 1. We've been working on the development of the First Citizens Academy. Applications are available online. The deadline is July 31st. It's going to be a really cool program for residents to understand the inside of city operations and tour facilities that they normally wouldn't have access to. And that is a 7-week program, so we're very excited to get that started. We administered the first year of the Career Development Plan program for full-time employees. And then we also developed an internal employee recognition program called Employee Spotlight. In that program, employees can give each other shout outs. And then at the end of the year, when the chamber has their dinner in coordination with Legacy Fund, that person is recommended for Smithville's Employee of the Year for the city. Wayfinding signage, this is in progress. Our sign is under review with MoDOT, so I do anticipate that being delayed until FY25 for the downtown signage. And then service agreements, we just approved for IT support and our VoIP phones with Allo. And then August, we will have our internet service agreement coming for you guys. So any questions on the 24 updates? All right. So for 25 discussion points, like I mentioned before, this is our 4th year of the Smithville Main Street District funding, so this concludes the original agreement. Additionally, we have expanded our IT support with the approval of Allo. We are going to be focusing a lot more on cybersecurity and making sure our laptop replacements happen on time instead of someone coming in and their laptop not working or being dead. We're a little bit more on top of that. City programming, have the new Citizens Academy, and the Neighborhood Beautification Grant. There's been discussions on maybe expanding it or making it look a little different. So we'll have that discussion at the board retreat on what that looks like. Wayfinding signage, we actually applied for the MARC application grant for the TAP program, for the full wayfinding, plan. So that would be a great thing if we get that. So that'll help with costs. So continue to focus on that and see if we can find outside funding to help support those initiatives. Recruitment and retention, I conducted a compensation review with surrounding communities. So that will be a big part of our board retreat. For fringe benefits, we have a benefits committee with frontline staff on there. So we've reviewed some policies that would help with recruitment and retention. So those will be also presented at the board retreat. Career development plans. This has really helped with departments have succession planning. And you'll probably hear from the other department directors on their training budgets for this year and how this program has impacted that. Website enhancements. This is our final year with Municipal One's contract, and we'll be issuing a request for qualifications in January. So we'll see what happens with the bid proposals we get for that. Marketing enhancements, this has become a really big priority for our Economic Development Committee. So continuing to focus and budget more for tourism, and also for development of just making sure we have active information for marketing our city. Direction Finder City, the last one we conducted was in fiscal year 22. So this is our citizen survey. So this is just an item if we want to bring that for FY 25. And the last is our economic data analysis program. We currently use Replica, and it's been indicated from Clay County that we won't be renewing that contract. So we're looking at ways to partner with other organizations for something that would replace that. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Back to financial year 2024, this first year of the career development plans for full-time, and I look down here, I mean, we've got our recruitment and retention in 2025. I think it would be good if we could have some feedback of how that first year of that career development plan has gone.
Yeah, so this is actually the first year we even implemented the plans. So that's why we wanted to time it with the development of the FY 25 budget. So then the training budget would actually align with it.
And in the retreat, we will have some information on what is included from the budget. But I also, as Gina mentioned that earlier, I had the thought, I want to highlight, and I was going to plan on doing this at the retreat. This is a transition from doing employee evaluations on an annual basis. We've had in-depth conversations, employees do kind of an internal assessment, look at where they are in their career, what may they want to, what are their long-term goals, areas, there's some self-reflection and looking at areas that they'd like to improve. I think, and we've not fully completed the discussions at the department director level between myself and staff, but as we've been developing the budget, looking at personnel needs, looking at staffing issues, conversations have repeatedly come up. We talked about this and so would like to be able to do this. I believe that from the budget perspective, having those conversations have been more beneficial to us in the budget planning process. And you'll see some of that information as we go through the human infrastructure side of the retreat.
Thank you, Gina, for the report, and I appreciate your efforts and the staff's efforts on the marketing enhancements. The more we can reach out to those folks at the campground and visitors that come to our city, it's a win-win for our restaurants, our local shops, and hopefully they're spending more money. It's just generating sales tax.
Welcome back.
All right, finance. As you can see, we have 4 people in the finance, including myself, as director, and then 2 financial specialists, 2s, and then we have one finance specialist, 1. For the 24 updates, we received the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award again. That was the 5th straight year. We migrated to ERP Pro 10 from ERP Pro 9, and that's formerly Encode, if that was mentioned probably many times. This upgrade just increased staff's ability to be more proactive and gave us the ability to customize what we're doing on our side as well as on the customer side as well. Implemented utility billing cashiering. That is an increase in detailed billing, especially on the customer side, but it also standardized the collection process on the city side. Implementing the Tyler Content Manager, that is happening in the next couple of weeks. What that is our ability to get rid of paper. We will be having scanners. We'll be able to upload an invoice or any kind of payment, any kind of records that you want into the invoice number, customer's account. It should be very streamlined once we get going on that. What that will do is give us the ability to do quicker searches if we're needing to look something up real quick. And we will just have more control over the transactions themselves. We are working to streamline the contract management protocol. This will assist both staff and the governing body to be able to look at our contracts that we have, understand the big picture of when the renewal date is, when they are up. We'll identify those that are on a year-to-year basis. We'll be able to identify those that are on a multi-year basis. Create an asset management protocol. Right now, our auditors do quite a bit of work for us on the asset management. We keep track of it, but we have room to grow to be able to track, especially like CIP projects, and just be able to have quicker turnaround on expenses. And lastly, improve the financial statements and financial disclosures of our audit reports. Right now, we rely almost solely on our auditors to formulate that. As you remember, that's one of our things they always say on one of our exceptions. And we plan on being able to provide that next year in hopes that we can decrease what they are saying. In theory, we should be preparing our own financial statements. We should be preparing all the disclosures. They should be just doing the auditing work. '25 discussion points. Continued support of the ERP Pro 10 migration. There is a lot to this module that we purchased. There are a lot of areas that we can improve on data collection, and we will just continue to work on that. Like I said, we are about 2 months in on this module, so there's a lot to learn still. Implement a positive pay, ACH, and check fraud program. As you recall, some of you guys may remember, we did this a couple years ago. What had happened was it was relatively new to Central Bank, and we had some issues with our ERP Pro 9 software being able to recognize some of the transactions that was happening. Ended up causing a few more problems than what we anticipated, so we stopped using it. We do now, have been in lengthy discussions with Central Bank, and we will get that implemented here shortly as soon as we get ERP Pro 10, the database up and going, and be able to see the reports to give to Central Bank so they can turn around and implement it for us. Staff continues to work with Bound Counsel. That's obviously a misspelling there. And our financial advisor on the COP issuance. We are going to explore a new bank chip That still could be central bank at the end. Central bank is aware that we are gonna go out and, request a proposal. That could change, that could not change, so we'll just see where that goes. But we are due, I think we are at roughly 5 years with central bank. Update and implement utility rate recommendations. That is always an ongoing process, especially with the amount of capital projects that we have going on. Continue to work on the city website. Between updating and getting as much information out there to be as transparent as possible is key for our department this year or next year as well. And implement a finance staff training program. And this is piggybacking on what Gina said on the career development plan. We would like just to be able to look at what everybody's doing. We have 2 financial specialists, make sure everybody is aligned and make sure that everybody is getting the training that they want to do. Any questions for finance? Please.
I don't have a question, but just a comment. There where you're looking at implementing that positive pay and next year, and also looking at a new banking relationship. Should you wait on the new banking relationship before you move into positive pay? Just a thought.
The positive pay files are pretty standard
Okay.
between banking institutions. I don't think it would be a heck of a lot of work for us to go ahead and proceed with central bank at this point. If we would happen to have to change, it's gonna be the same upload file that we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that is a good point, and we'll keep
Yeah.
that in mind. I think,
I know it's probably pretty standard, but just a
Yeah.
thought.
and Rick has done this before. We were going into new ground previously too. So I think we've got a couple of things we're working at from that perspective too.
Evening. You can see on the left, this is the police department's organizational chart. We have 21 full-time employees, which may have been where you got that number. 20 of those are sworn. One of those is the civilian staff. And then on the right there, you can see kind of some stats from fiscal year 24 and kind of a projection on calls for service, where we estimate where we're going to land on 24 there. We completed, as Rick said earlier, we completed replacement of our fleet through Enterprise earlier this year. That was those 8 marked patrol units. We've continued replacement of key equipment like our tasers and our mobile data terminals. Those are the computers in the cars. We replaced the second set of 4 this year. They're ordered. We're just waiting delivery on those. We purchased a second drone utilizing both grant and donation funds earlier this year. We will have 2 officers going to pilot school in the next 2 weeks as well to replace a couple pilots that we lost through attrition there. We've purchased and installed 2 speed signs in the school zone up on Eagle Parkway, and that was 100% funded through grant funds through the state of Missouri. We sent multiple officers through CIT training through the year to include basic CIT, veteran CIT, and youth CIT. And that's probably where we've come to find over the year, probably the most utilized course that any of our officers go to. And then, of course, something that permeates our life each and every day, we continue to recruit to hire and fill vacant positions. As we look to 25, you're going to see the budget will reflect costs associated with the police officer's contract that was approved earlier in the spring. The sergeant's unit voted to be recognized this spring, and negotiations are anticipated to be completed into the fiscal year 25 budget. Yes. Did I go the wrong way? All right, Linda, what am I doing wrong? Come bail me out here.
We'll make sure that we include in career development training, all the department directors are able to work with PowerPoint.
Yes.
No,
I could probably.
we'll save the
I'll
money.
go up here to- I
We
can
can
go up
s-
here to Eagle on the way
We can
home.
save the money. I'll handle that one.
Actually, yeah.
I can handle that one. We don't need to spend money on it.
So like we said, it's going to include, reflect the cost associated with the officer's contract that was approved earlier this spring. We're in negotiations, or we're starting negotiations with the sergeant's unit. We anticipate that to be completed, to align with the budget year 25. Our outdoor warning siren system is aging, and we anticipate those costs will go up, and we'll be looking at that moving forward, and I believe we'll be getting some information probably in some retreat information as well there. We anticipate with the coming 25 budget, we'll consideration for 2 additional officers and some associated equipment and vehicles there. We anticipate looking at replacement of handguns, sights, and holsters for the department. We anticipate looking at funds for putting benches in our holding cells to allow us to hold people there for longer periods of time, which actually ties into our last item there, we'll get to here in just a second. We're looking at a project to put some additional shelving in our evidence room, some high-density shelving, trying to utilize every square inch we have right now as efficiently as possible. And then also looking at a drying cabinet, some equipment that we don't currently have and have actually never had, and just the needs continue to come up for evidence preparation and storage there. And then earlier this year, we received some communication from the Clay County Sheriff advising that there will be cost increase associated with confinement, and the budget information received will reflect that as it comes forward too. Any questions? I'll be happy to do my best to answer them. If not, not about to touch that mouse, but I'll let whoever comes next do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hit the button and it went the wrong way. There we go. There we go. Good evening. As you can tell, our department structure hasn't changed in a while. We have 2 building inspectors, 1 code inspector, 1 permit tech, and then of course, development director myself. That's been pretty consistent for several years now. As it relates to our fiscal 24 updates, we did continue the implementation of the comprehensive plan, and one of the things we did was improve the public transparency by creating a comprehensive plan dashboard that allows you to see the progress on the plan. We also have installed the new permitting and code enforcement software that will be ultimately released to the public side so they can access it once the content manager that you've heard about before has been implemented. That content manager will allow contractors to file everything online, fill out their permit application, send it to us with all their supporting documentation, everything online. Same thing with our side of it. So hopefully it'll make it a little more efficient in the works. All staff, both building inspectors, the code inspector, and the permit tech have all been nationally certified in their fields. We are hopeful that we will have commercial certifications for both the building inspectors, hopefully later this year. Those certifications for the builders the building inspectors have substantially reduced our need for outside inspectors. And that has saved several $1,000s out of the budget. We had planned to spend it, but we didn't have to because our guys are able to handle the work internally now. And the 169 South Employment Overlay District should be beginning in the next month or so, and it'll take up the rest of the summer and strong part of fall. As it relates to our discussion points for next year, there we go. We're going to continue with the comprehensive plan action items. We are hopeful to finalize the Corps of Engineers annexation. It sounds like we're getting close. We're on their time. We're going to work the rest of the 25 to hopefully early 25 to have a comprehensive review of all of the planning related fees that we have to make sure that all staff time is going to be compensated by those applicants and that we stay in compliance with the Hancock Amendment. We want to continue to expand the functionality of the online permitting system that we've got in place now, and hopefully do an online inspection system as well. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I did that or what.
No, I just got to mute somebody.
Oh, okay. And then we also want to expand the public engagement and education on the code enforcement matters as it relates to this. That's a specific item that is coming out of the career development plan process. And as you can see on the bottom there, this coming budget request will primarily be focused on additional training and certification funding, again, through the employee development process. So the big thing for that is that training funding should be able to come out of the money that we were spending on the outside inspectors for next year. So we'll have basically a zero-sum gain here for us. If you have any questions, I'll. If not.
Howdy, howdy. So our department structure there on the left as well. It's grown over the years. For the better, we've grown as just what we've been offering. So we needed some staff to continue that going. We have a great staff right now, and they've been working hard this season. But for the updates, we've continued to complete the short-term goals in the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We're on year 3. We've completed just about everything that's on there going forward. Some of the highlights are the public art, park signage, Diamond Crest Park, design for Emerald Ridge, and new programming. Coming up here shortly will be the big project for Smiths Fork Park for Diamond Crest, or for Smiths Fork Park for ball fields, and so that's what we've been saving money in the Parks and Stormwater sales tax for. One of the larger board directives last year was to look at senior services. And so we applied and were awarded a senior services grant through Clay County Senior Services for Senior Services Coordinator. We hired that position in March of 24. As you can see there, they're on that department structure now. We held our second fundraising event for the Smithfield Chamber of Commerce. Those funds were for the Smithfield Legacy Fund, split with the Chamber of Commerce as well. We grew participation in our current programming and added more non-recreational programs. That took us from just a little over 1,000 to about 6,600. So it's been widely met in a lot of programs that are selling out for those non-recreational programs. In lieu of park dedication funds from development that's been in Smithville, we were able to do the resurfacing of Heritage Park and Smiths Fork Park playgrounds. If you visited those yet, they look so much better without having just the playground mulch there. And this took away staff time to have to go out there and address those all the time. And throughout the year, we worked on multiple Eagle Scout projects for the Scout area and around the community, managed all special events downtown at the parks, updated the Smiths Fork shelter houses, and completed 12 water leaks in the campground. For our 2020 or for our 25 discussion points, we'll continue to implement park projects as identified in the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We'll have the construction of Emerald Ridge Park this year. We'll hope to get that done before the end of the budget year. For us, consider a full-time park maintenance position and meet the national standards for our community. That's currently not funded, but more discussion of that be coming forward. Consider applying for additional grant funding to expand the senior services coordinator to full-time. So Amy and myself, we've met with Mark. There's an opportunity that many communities that are doing, Liberty does this as well in Excelsior Springs, where they take the Clay County Senior Services Grant and the Mark funding grant and make that position full-time. So currently the Clay County Senior Services Grant is fully funded. There's no match needed for that by the city of Smithville. And then the Mark grant would also be similar to that, but if this position is full-time, there will be benefits and retirement that would have to be made from the city on that portion of that. So Amy and I, that application is due at the end of the year. And so we plan to get that completed before then. So we'll look forward to that in the future. We'll continue to make improvements in the budget this year, looking for improvements to the exterior of City Hall and the senior services or senior center building, as well as just some considerations for Smiths Fork Campground road resurfacing. This project is not budgeted, but after the construction that were out there over the last 2 years, the road did take some beating from the equipment that went through there. And campground's been busier, and so we want to continue to make that look nice out there. And then Diamond Crest parking lot progress, we'll continue to work on that and make sure that we make some significant progress on that before the end of the year as well. And one thing that's not on the list is training, as Gina mentioned. We went through the development plans with our staff. Safety is a big one for us on the maintenance side. And then just professional certifications on the recreational side. Alex just completed her CYSA, which makes her a certified youth sports administrator. She's got her CPRP. Chase has done some training with our insurance NPR, and so we're looking to get kind of more of those frontline staff in those trainings. And our association does a really good job in the area of doing just informal training. So we've sent some down to the Kansas side, like Olathe and Lenexa, where they've done some electrical training and have looked at some different buildings and safety-wise that way. So excited to see what we come up with this year for them. Any questions?
Good evening. So let's talk about Public Works for a little bit. I've got several slides on here. We do have 23 full-time people. That includes myself and Myra. We have engineering technicians that do our inspection. We have maintenance staff in our street division, which is first up. And then we have maintenance staff in our utility division, wastewater plant, and water production plant. Just some updates and highlights. We just finished crack sealing in Hills of Shannon, and they've just begun up at Rock Creek, and we continue to do patching as needed. Some things we put onto the GIS, which is accessible through our website, public can see. We're going to start doing our pavement rating on the GIS. We just got the program completed. We're going to do training at the end of the week, and then we're going to go ahead and start our 2024 PCI rating process. We've identified the outfalls on our maps. Snow routes are out there, so if anybody's interested, when we have snows, what the priority routes are and how to get around town, that's out there. Road maintenance projects are out there. Our capital projects are out there, and our mowing areas are out there. So if you have a question about who maintains what road, city, county, state, that's out there. Although we had a mild winter, we were able to use our salt brine a couple times. The salt brine's been really good at reducing our staff time out there and, making the roads more accessible and a little more safe during those winter operations. We secured funding through TAP. We've been very successful through TAP and the RTP, which is the OK Trail. We're working on that design in-house, trying to save a little bit of funds there. and so many easements. I don't even want to talk about how many easements I've had to obtain this year, but yes, we've had a lot. All right, we're moving on. Huh? Linda is certified a lot. Wrong way.
You run out of ink?
So discussion points, obviously, we're still looking for the Public Works and Parks and Rec facility and salt storage. Salt storage, I think you've all been out to the Public Works facility and, there are metal sheds out there that, we put salt and all of our expensive equipment. A lot of it sits outside.
We had a lot of rain this year.
We had a lot of rain this year.
Yeah.
So we just completed the mill and overlay in Harborview. And I'm getting calls about what about the rest of it? And we've already spent the money. Pavement maintenance, sidewalk maintenance, and I'm talk a little bit about this later on. What we've tried to do is we're looking more holistically. If we're going to go in and tear up the street, put a water line in, then let's fix the street. If we have a storm sewer issue, Forest Oaks is going to be really big, and 26 is our plan. But we did do the sidewalks adjacent to the streets that we went ahead and overlaid, so we didn't have the little bobcats and concrete trucks backing up and running back and forth on our new overlay. So all those are done, but everybody likes to see that, and when they see it happening, that's when everybody's calling. Hey, when's ours? When's ours? So we have a lot of needs. The PCI will do the 24. We'll bring you back a report and give you the average and stuff and let you know where we're at. But there's always needs for pavement repair and pavement maintenance and sidewalk repair. And, we've been getting a real good response when we're doing this 50-50 cost share. We get $25,000 budgeted, and we leverage that against 10 to 15,000 because city takes care of those manholes and those handicap ramps. So we've been getting really good response with that cost share. And then just the continuation, the goal of continuing communication of projects and status and using the GPS and where people can find some of this information and how to contact us. We don't get, the citizens of Smithville have been great. We've tore up some neighborhoods, and we don't get a lot of calls, complaints. Occasionally we get somebody that's got a small issue, but people are really good about, understanding. I think they appreciate the investment the board and the city is making in their community, in their neighborhoods. So they put up with a lot. You can see that with 4th Street. You can see that with Quincy. They've put up with a lot for quite a while, and they do appreciate it. So
They don't have your number.
I got my number on every one of my cards and every handout we send out, and they don't call. They talk to. We have great inspectors, and we do have great contractors. The contractors have really reached out. They've talked to people, on 4th Street. The contractor there, I mean, he was hauling their trash cans down the street every week and back to their houses every week. So there's been good relationships.
The
between
contractors at Quincy carry groceries for people when they couldn't park in their
Have they?
driveways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so we've been fortunate. Utilities, floating aerator, valve vault at the raw water pump, all that was done last year and completed. The SBRs. So we treated 164 million gallons of drinking water. We treated 140 million gallons of wastewater. The bar screen has been bid. It's on order. We expect it to come in September. It just takes time to manufacture. We did approve the submittals on that. The HVAC at the water treatment plant is completed. You guys were all aware of the SBR rehab that we did. We did some. Clean Harbors helped. Mid-America helped. I mean, we all got in there and we all did it. Those were, we cleaned those basins out. I brought in all the nasty pictures for everybody to see. And anyway, they're up and running and they're doing well. The water treatment plant improvement project, which includes the filters, the anthracite's going to be replaced, so the filter media, a lot of stuff in the filter gallery, which is all the piping and stuff, new equipment, new carbon feeder, new lime feeder, a lot of work. It's over like $1.4 million, I think was the bid. That's been awarded. We're probably not going to be starting that until September, October. We got to wait till the use goes down a little bit because right now the plant is gearing up and producing more and more water. I think Bob told me the last couple of days they've been producing over 1 million gallons a day. So we wait till maybe it's a little bit lower flow so we can start those improvements and stuff. Slip lining project has been very successful. I think on the next slide. Typically we were ranging about 15 calls a month, and now we're down to a few a year, and that's all from the result of the slip lining. We've obviously selected the right lines that we've been having problems with, and we've done some point repairs on those, but it's mostly the slip lining and then the manhole repairs. That also helps with infiltration and blockages. And then our water treatment plant residuals project, that was awarded earlier this spring. We knew it wasn't going to take place until later in the fall, but we wanted to get on people's schedules. We got really good bids. I think we budgeted 400,000, and it was in the range of 100, 150. So they were really good bids. So we did get on the schedules, but that's a project where we're going to dig out all the lime sludge residuals in the 2 lagoons, and then we're going to haul them over to a field so they can be spread as an agricultural supplement.
Oh, before we move forward, we've been doing slip lining a few years now. How many more big lines do we have to get done, or are we getting closer to where it's just going to be smaller onesie twosie things?
It'll be a while. It's kind of like the pavement maintenance program. It's ongoing.
Okay.
All the clay tile lines that were, installed for many, many years in town. Obviously, we won't have to do them up in Greyhawk. We probably don't have to do them in Diamond Crest or Harbor View. But all the original town site, Quincy, Maple, downtown, all the way south to the high school, all that area. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to continue to do that.
And the alternative is digging those up, which some of those are 30 feet deep if we
Some of them
find
can
them?
be very deep, but when you dig them up, then you gotta deal with all that, and just the excavation. Most of them are in the street, so then you're gonna rebuild all those streets. It gets to be pretty expensive. Not that we've done it on 4th Street because it was so bad. We've done it on Winter. Before I forget, I got a note in here somewhere, but
next month.
I've had several people ask me about Woods and Winter.
It's coming soon.
Huh?
It's coming soon. I got an update at the board.
Soon,
I got an update at the Mark board meeting.
I know. So that we were part of the Kansas City metro area, or MARC, received like $8.5 million a couple years ago in ARPA money. And what they've done is they've taken all the communities. We ended up with 53-ish thousand, divided it up based on population, and put out one project to do mill and overlay, and they're also doing microsurfacing. And so we all submitted our projects, and they were all put in a set of plans, and it just takes time to get through the process between FHWA, USDOT, and then MoDOT, and all the environmental review. All this takes a lot of time. So 2 years later, here we are. We've got it bid, and they've started on it, but Smithville's got 2 streets. Kansas City, Independence. The last schedule I got for Superior Bowens doing the work, the June schedule, they're in Raytown and Independence. And those are the 2 communities that's sucking up the month.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they were doing all the mill and overlay south of the river first, and the microsurface in north.
yeah,
and then they're going to
microsurfacing
swap.
got done.
Yeah, and now they're going to flip them. Then
yeah.
they'll move us. But yeah, we've got to get Jackson County and Cass County done first on and then they'll move up here.
So it'll take some time, but it is coming. I've had a few people ask, we've been waiting on this. I said, yeah, I know. We've got that water line cut in the road, and it's a little rough. So Okay, so discussion points for 2025 for utilities. I just wanted to give you some updates on these projects where we're at. 144th Street and West Bypass. Um, we went through condemnation. We've got all the easements but two because we've selected an alternate alignment. HDR's been out and surveyed it. We expect to get those descriptions and those easements probably by the end of June. It's probably more so getting the descriptions from the surveyors than it is obtaining the easements because we've talked to the property owners and they're on board. And then we'll get it back submitted to DNR in August, and we should be ready to bid in September. So we'll get it out to bid then. Stonebridge Lift Station, the river crossing, and the Smiths Force Main are all probably on the same schedule. We're going to need a couple easements on each project, just a few. And they've got to get the plans to DNR. So we're probably expecting fall bid dates for those projects. But they're up and coming. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the wastewater treatment plant expansion, and starting maybe to consider in the 25 budget, budgeting for the engineering for it. Jack and I are constantly working with developments, and as they're coming in, we're kind of bumping up against our capacity. When we submitted the 144th Street pump station originally to DNR before we had the condemnation issues, they actually kicked them back to us and said, how are you going to put this big lift station in when you only have this much capacity left in your plant? It's not that all the capacity of the lift station is going to be dumped on the plant because Forest Oaks isn't coming in, Hills of Shannon, which is already accounted for, we'll be dumping in. So we're fine, but we are bumping up against that. And if we don't start thinking about it, these projects they're not overnight. Between the environmental reviews and the engineering, you're 2.5 years, and then construction. So you're 4 to 5 years out before the plant's online. So we really need to start thinking about that. At least starting the engineering and seeing where we're going with it.
And Jack and Chuck are working on information that we'll present at the retreat also that goes into growth over time and the impact on our utility system.
Also, our wastewater treatment plant permit is expiring in 25. So we just got to see what the new permit parameters are. It may include phosphorus limits, which may require increased testing, monitoring, possible treatment, additional chemicals. And then we don't want to forget at some point, and population hasn't pushed us that way yet, but that water treatment plant expansion, that's going to be a huge project when we do that. That's bigger than the wastewater plant expansion. So that's several years down the line, but we just don't want to forget it. And then we got to balance all that with the tolerance of rates. So the rates will probably have to increase, and we got to figure out what the tolerance of the community is for that. Try and whip through these a little quicker. Transportation sales tax updates. So like I said, we completed the sidewalk replacement program, the street maintenance program, and we do our street sweeping program out of there. We try and get everybody at least 3 times a year. We just started in April. 4th and 4th Street, 4th Street and 4th Street Terrace are completed. Quincy will be done this week. So they've actually hydro-seeded half the road yesterday, but there was a lot of equipment there, so they stopped. And they'll get back to it. But the overlay is expected to start tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow and Thursday, and then all but cleanup will be done. I just want to continue to stress the need for, obviously, the continuation program and funding that in the sidewalk program, but the consideration of expanding it. If we can get some additional funding, that would be great. Next year, what we're going to do on our street maintenance program, after we get the sidewalk done on Commercial Street, we will mill and overlay Commercial Street from 92 to downtown. The road's rough. I don't know how many utility companies have cut into it. We'll notify them, make sure your stuff's in good shape. AT&T is gonna redo all their stuff. It's not in the street, but they've got to do it for their sidewalk anyway. So people are up there, people know about it, but the main street in town, is pretty rough and it doesn't show well, and so we wanna make that right, so. In 26, when we do Forest Oaks, we will need to have additional funding in that street maintenance program. The plan will be to do the storm sewer, the sidewalks, and the overlay. And there's a lot of curb and a lot of issues with the storm sewer up there, so we'll take it from several funds, but the street maintenance program will be one of those. Keep going back. The capital improvement sales tax fund, this was a sales tax that was approved by the voters back in 2018. Some big projects that were done with a bond issue: Amory Road, Second Creek Bridge, 180th Street Trail, Main Street Walking Trail, and the Downtown Streetscape Phase 1 and 2. Downtown Streetscape, it's out to bid. Bid's June 18th. So we will be bringing that back to it's still got process to go through. After we get the bid, we got to go back to MoDOT and ask for authority to award, and they got to go to FHWA, but we're on schedule. Commercial Street Sidewalk, as I was walking in, and I just got another email from a lady at MoDOT who's very helpful. That is moving. It will be bid no later than August, so we'll get that one bid. And the Riverwalk Trail and Second Creek Sidewalks, both of those projects are in design right now, and they're planned to start late in 25. I think actually they may be on the 26 fiscal year budget for Mark and MoDOT, but that's our regular year of 2025. So we'll get that out there late 25. Not the right way. The other one I need to talk about is the roundabout on Bridge Street. We did get about $900,000 to do that project. This was a project that we applied for prior to coronavirus. I think we estimated about a $1.5 million project. Recent estimates are over $4 million, and engineering around $500,000. Unless we can secure some additional funds, I don't know that this project's going to move forward. It's a 27-28 project with Mark, but we're going to need some more money. So we'll see if we can, twist their arm and get a couple, $3 more million. So we'll see. We've been successful. They have extra money. We'll ask for it. And then I'm going to Parks and Stormwater Sales Tax Fund. I'm going to do the public works side for stormwater on both the 24 and 25, and then I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he's going to jump back and do the park side. So Myra did develop the illicit discharge and elimination plan. We brought this to you several months ago. We still need to get out there and talk to the HOAs and people with detention ponds on their maintenance issues. We've just been really busy, but we did increase construction requirements, I guess it is, and we are inspecting those, and we are asking contractors to verify that their stuff is working, didn't get blowed down from the last wind, or just filled up the silt fences. Stormwater projects we completed on Quincy and 4th Street and 4th Terrace. You never see stormwater projects until it rains, and then you're glad you have them. And then we just bid, and it's on your agenda tonight, is Stonebridge. So we're taking the 30-inch pipe that goes under the road, and we're increasing it to a 48-inch pipe. The neighborhood is hugely happy with that, and they're more than willing, again, to put up, because we're going to cut the road, and it's going to be open for several weeks. And they're going to drive across. We'll build them a little temporary gravel thing between their parking lots in the back, and they'll use that. And they seem to be very, very appreciative of the work that the city is doing for them. 25 discussion points. So when we completed our stormwater master plan that GBA did, they identified several maintenance projects, Woods Court, Rock Creek, and what's the other one? Northeast 158. And they identified a couple stormwater projects, CIP projects on Dundee, Forest Oaks, obviously, and then Cedar Lakes, and so on. We'll be talking more about those as we develop the CIP and stuff, but those are the discussion points that we'll be talking about on the stormwater side. Matt, you probably want to go back, and I can't go back. Go ahead.
So some of the parks and stormwater sales updates for Parks and Recreation was the Parks and Rec Committee just awarded the design for Emerald Ridge Park, and that'll be for the construction here before the end of the year. We completed the Heritage Park and Smiths Fork Park Playground resurfacings. We secured the RTP grant for the OK Railroad Trail to connect Diamond Crest and Lake Meadows, and then secured the $900,000 grant with Mark for the Riverwalk as Chuck update. Both will be in design here by the end of the year, 25. Some of the discussion points is the implement year 4 of the Parks and Rec Master Plan. That is the engineering and design for Smiths Fork Park Sports Complex. So we'll start those emails and discussions on what that looks like and cost going forward with that. Yeah, just both those constructions with Emerald Ridge Park and OK Railroad Trail. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Lastly, here is, once again, the sanitation fund. Discussion points for 25. We will be working with GFL for a renewal and bring rate recommendations to the board. This, as we kind of alluded to before in the previous presentation, GFL, we have like a 3-year contract with, but every year they have a clause in there to increase based on a CPI index. Then we also have another clause in there that we can negotiate based on that CPI index. So that's where some of that confusion that we were talking about before came from. We kept 2 citywide bulky item pickups, one in spring, one in fall. We had the fall bulky item drop-off event. We continue to retain the cardboard recycling drop-off station in downtown Smithville. And we again increased the residential participation rate and the e-waste event and recycled over 9,000 pounds of paper and over 2,000 pounds of computer electronics. All right, here's a quick overview of our budget process. Again, next week we will have a board retreat, which we will talk in depth in a lot of these things. July 16th, we'll have a schedule of fees review and discussion. In August, we will present the operating budget as it stands at that point and 5-year CIP. September, we will have a second review of that. And in October, we will adopt the 25 budget. Have any questions on anything so far? Sounds like we are going to do CIP, yep, and continue on. Okay.
Yep. Good time.
All right. as we go through this, keep in mind, this was staff's first stab at looking at CIP for 25 through 29. This will be, of course, discussed in depth in the board retreat. And then, as previously mentioned, any additional work sessions we deem necessary will be also discussed and brought to you. We'll try to go through these relatively quick here. This year, just because of me coming in February and getting my feet wet and everything else, we are just about a month behind where we normally are on something like this. In April, we had the staff review. In May, we kind of prioritized what the CIP looked like. June, we will more or less kind of finalize and have a good idea of what fits in the budget. And then in October, we will approve. Update highlights. The city administrator and directors have worked together to update the proposed 5-year CIP. And this is our initial review with the board. Projects approved by MARC transportation funding have been prioritized within the 5-year CIP. Storm projects have been slotted into the Park and Stormwater Sales Tax Fund CIP based on Public Works staff review and recommendations. And then finally, the board will prioritize the CIP more in June and specifically next week. Here's a quick overview of where we're at. Chuck has done a great job securing MARC grant reimbursements. We have right now just totaling just under 2.4 million. And here's those projects just broken out just a little bit more. As Chuck mentioned, that first one is on hold until we can secure more funding. Looking at the general fund, this is currently what the general fund looks like for CIP over the next 5 years. We have left some of these open in there for discussion going forward. Expect some of them to probably be filled. But again, the first roundabout is probably going to be left off for the time being. Pending projects for the general fund. We have ongoing discussions about a new police department building. And we have the streets and parks recreation facility building. And our warning system is aging quickly, and within the next year or two, we'll be on our CIP. These are typical annual projects that we continue to work on. For the combined water and wastewater fund, this is the 2025 CIP listing. As you can see, the non-impact fees are not included in this. And again, the impact fees are what a developer would pay, a one-time payment, and those fees that they pay are used to offset the cost of new development for the city. Right now, other than the COP bonds, potential COP bonds, this is funded by, for the most part, water and wastewater rates. Here's the second half of the combined water and wastewater plan. And here's impact fees. This is the water impact fees. Typically, we don't project too far out with these fees just because the fees are unknown. For 25, it'll just be the Maple Lab and River Crossing. And on the flip side, the wastewater impact fees, we will work on the treatment expansion plant for 25. Transportation Sales Tax Fund. The 2024 street maintenance program was funded with 300,000. And it was awarded and completed in Harbor View. And we did come under budget on that one at 268. For the fiscal 24 sidewalk replacement program, this was funded at 25,000. And it was again in Harbor View and completed in May within budget. And then, as always, we will always look at options to increase this fund to be able to support the projects that need to get done. Here is the 25 to 29 transportation sales tax projections. And you will notice that commercial street sidewalks does have quite large reimbursement of 960,000. Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. This is to maintain capital improvements, either through an increased value, useful life, or renewed use. This is also a fund because of the cost of some of these projects that does a transfer to debt service, since some of these projects will be funded by debt. Park and Stormwater Sales Tax Fund. Just have the 25 on this first slide. And then 26 through 29. And here's all the funds together for the 5-year plan. You will see 25, that number is quite large. That is streetscape. That's in the capital improvement plan, as well as the 144th Street lift station, west bypass of 144th lift station, and Stone Ridge lift station. And just in conclusion, like I said in the beginning, I went through this pretty quick. This was staff's first take at CIP for the 5-year plan. We plan on having more information at the board retreat and then also sharing that in future work sessions.
Any questions for Rick? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to entertain, or motion to, in work session.
Get
You're
somebody else
entertaining
other than
the
Alderman
motion.
Hartman to make a motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. You guys want a 10-minute recess, or you want to start the next meeting? Yeah, go.